Some thoughts keep you up at night, questions with no answers, truths you were never meant to face. Once they enter your mind, they don't leave. If you want more content like this, don't forget to subscribe. Join the journey, because some truths are just the beginning. The reality that you might be dead already. What if you already died, and what you perceive as life is just your consciousness refusing to let go? This terrifying thought suggests that everything around you, every sound, every touch, every face you recognize, could be nothing more than a projection, a desperate hallucination created by a dying mind. There are stories of people who claim to have had near-death experiences, where time stretches, seconds become hours, and entire lifetimes seem to unfold in an instant. What if that's where you are right now? What if your last moment, the final flicker of brain activity, is stretching infinitely, trapping you in a loop of memories, constructing an artificial reality to shield you from the inevitable void? Some theories in quantum physics suggest that consciousness is not bound to the body, that reality itself is observer-dependent. If that's true, then what happens when the observer dies? Does their personal reality collapse, or does it persist in some kind of self-sustaining illusion? Could that explain the eerie feeling that time sometimes seems unreal? That life itself has an artificial quality, as if you're replaying scenes from a forgotten script. Consider the phenomenon of déjà vu, that eerie sensation that you've lived this exact moment before. Some suggest it's just a glitch in memory processing, but what if it's more than that? What if déjà vu is a symptom of the loop? The same events playing over and over, but slightly off, just enough to make you notice. And what about those moments where reality itself seems to stutter? When you misplace something only to find it in an impossible location? When you hear echoes of voices that aren't there? When time seems to skip like a scratched record? What if death is not the end, but a fracture in experience? Some have theorized that when we die, we split off into a divergent timeline where we survive, our mind constructing a world that continues as if nothing happened. Could that explain why some people feel an inexplicable sense of disconnection from their past, as if they are living in a slightly altered version of their own reality? Could that explain the Mandela effect, where large groups of people collectively misremember the same events, as if they had lived in a different version of the world before? Perhaps the scariest part is that there would be no way to prove or disprove it. If you are already dead, your mind would filter out anything that contradicts the illusion, maintaining the facade of normalcy. You could be the only one left. Everyone around you, every person you love, just echoes of memory, like characters in a dream, reflections in the fog of your fading consciousness. And if that's true, then the most unsettling question remains. How long has this been going on? How much time has passed since you died? A second? 1,000 years? Or will you never wake up, trapped in this endless cycle, forever reliving a life that ended long ago? The mind virus of religion and belief system. Your mind is not your own. You were born into a world of stories, narratives shaped by those who came before you, stories of gods and demons, of salvation and sin, of purpose, destiny, and cosmic justice. But did you ever stop to ask where these stories came from? You did not choose your first beliefs. They were given to you. Before you could think, before you could question, they were already there, drilled into you by your parents, your teachers, and society itself. And now they control you. Religion, nationalism, ideology, These are not just ideas. They are viruses, self-replicating, self-defending, designed to spread. A belief system does not care if it is true. It only cares if it survives. And it survives by infecting minds. Look at history. Every civilization, every empire, every group of people clings to a set of beliefs. Not because they are rational, not because they are true, but because they are useful. A belief that unites people, that gives them purpose, that makes them obedient. This belief will always outcompete the one that does not. And so the virus spreads. But there is something worse. Once a belief takes root, it does not want to die. It builds defenses: fear, shame, guilt. You are told that questioning is dangerous, that doubt leads to suffering, that rejecting the system will damn you, exile you, destroy you. And so you stay, even if it makes no sense, even if it contradicts itself, even if you know deep down that it is not real. Because belief is not about truth. It is about control, and control is power. Think about it. Religions have shaped entire civilizations. They have justified wars, rewritten laws, dictated morality. Kings and emperors claimed divine authority. Priests and prophets became gatekeepers of knowledge. The most powerful belief systems do not just explain the world, they define it. But it goes beyond religion. Every ideology follows the same pattern. Political movements, social systems, economic theories, they all work the same way. They demand loyalty. They punish doubt. They offer salvation in exchange for obedience. And the scariest part, most people never realize they are infected. They do not question. They do not doubt. They believe, not because they have chosen to, but because they have been conditioned to. But what happens when the virus is exposed? What happens when someone sees through the illusion? They become dangerous. History is filled with those who dared to reject the system. Heretics, revolutionaries, outcasts. People who saw the machinery of belief for what it was and refused to be controlled by it. Some were silenced. Some were erased. And yet, some changed the world. Because once you see the virus, you have a choice. You can continue to serve it, or you can free yourself from it. But if you do, be prepared for what happens next. Because when you destroy an illusion, you are left with nothing but the cold, uncaring truth. And most people are not ready for that. The Horror of Solipsism. What if you are the only conscious being in existence? What if everyone you've ever met, your family, your friends, even the strangers you pass on the street, aren't real? Solipsism is the idea that only your mind is certain to exist. Everything else, a simulation, a dream. The faces you see, the voices you hear, just patterns. Echoes of a reality that only exists because you are here to perceive it. But here's the terrifying part. How would you prove otherwise? Think about it. Every interaction you've ever had has been filtered through your own perception. You've never actually been inside another person's mind. You assume they think like you do, that they experience pain, joy, and fear the same way. But how do you know? What if they're just responding the way they're supposed to? Like an advanced NPC in a game programmed to react, but never to truly feel. This idea isn't just abstract philosophy. It gnaws at the very foundation of your reality. If no one else is truly conscious, then who are you talking to when you speak? Who are you reaching out to when you cry for help? Maybe you built this world to escape something worse. Maybe you're a god who got tired of being alone and created an illusion so perfect that even you forgot the truth. Or maybe you were never meant to realize this, and every moment of doubt, every existential crisis, is just the simulation breaking down. What if you're on the verge of waking up? You've felt it before, haven't you? That sense of detachment, that creeping suspicion that something isn't quite right. Moments where people's reactions seem too perfect, where the world seems to move in patterns too precise to be random. It's as if reality is stitched together just well enough to fool you, but not so well that you can't see the seams if you look closely. Maybe this is why you feel so alone, even in a crowded room. Maybe it's why no matter how much you connect with others, a part of you always feels separate, because you are separate, the only one, the first, the last. And if that's true, then here's the real horror. There's no one else coming to save you. You were born alone. You will die alone. And in between, you'll live in a world that exists for your eyes only. Every tragedy, every victory, every moment of love, it's all just a shadow play, a story written for an audience of one. And when you're gone, so is everything else. Or maybe it never existed in the first place. The observer effect. What if reality only exists because you're looking at it? The observer effect suggests that the act of observation changes the state of what's being observed. It's a cornerstone of quantum mechanics, a field that's as perplexing as it is unsettling. In simple terms, particles act differently when they're being watched. Electrons, for example, can exist in multiple places at once, like ghosts. But the moment you observe them, they snap into a single spot, as if caught in the act. Now, consider what this means for reality itself. If the universe behaves one way when observed and another when it's not, then what's the truth? Is there an objective reality at all, or is everything molded by our awareness? Think about the implications. If observation alters reality, then what happens when no one's looking? Does the universe continue to exist? Or does it fade into a state of infinite possibilities, a limbo waiting for consciousness to pin it down? Imagine a world where nothing exists until you see it. The room behind you, the street outside your window, even the stars in the sky. What if they only solidify when you turn to look at them? This idea stretches the limits of human understanding and tugs at the threads of reality. How much control do you have over this process? Can you shape reality just by deciding how to look at it? If you close your eyes and refuse to observe, does the world blink out of existence, held together only by the thin thread of your attention, and it goes further? If observing something changes its state, then what about people? Do we alter each other just by meeting, just by locking eyes? Every interaction becomes a transaction of reality, a silent agreement to see each other as we are, or as we wish to be seen. What if this is why we crave attention? Not for validation, but for existence itself. If no one looks at you, are you even real? Does your life have weight, meaning, texture? without an observer to acknowledge it. In the end, the observer effect challenges the idea that reality is fixed and objective. Instead, it whispers a darker possibility, that everything is fluid, uncertain, a canvas waiting for your gaze to paint it into form. The world, in this view, is not a stage where you perform, but a mirror reflecting back the simple fact that you are here, that you are looking, that you are aware. And the scariest part, if reality is just a series of shifting possibilities, then what are you really looking at? A world made of matter and energy, or a tapestry of illusions stitched together by the simple act of seeing? So, next time you close your eyes, remember, without your observation, the unsettling theory that reality might be a dream. What if you wake up one day and realize this entire life was just a long, vivid hallucination? You've had dreams before, ones that felt real, where you could taste the air, feel the cold, hear voices as clear as waking life. In those moments, did you question it? Or did you accept the dream as reality until the second you snapped awake? What if you haven't snapped awake yet? Philosophers have wrestled with this for centuries. René Descartes, a famous French philosopher, questioned whether an evil force might be deceiving us, making us believe in a world that isn't there. More modern theories suggest that consciousness itself is nothing more than an illusion, a biological trick. But what if the trick runs deeper? What if everything, the people you love, the places you've been, your entire history, is just part of a dream you don't remember starting? Maybe you're asleep in another world, living another life. And this is just a temporary construct. Or maybe you don't exist at all. Just a thought flickering in the mind of something greater. An idea playing itself out before vanishing into the void. And here's the worst part. If this is a dream, how do you wake up? Try it. Close your eyes. Hold your breath. Pinch yourself. In dreams, reality is flexible. Laws of physics bend. Time moves strangely. Things change when you're not looking. Look around. Has anything changed? There have been moments, haven't there? Times where the world seemed off. Where people said things they shouldn't know. Where events unfolded too perfectly or too chaotically to make sense. The eerie feeling that you're watching yourself instead of living. The sense that you've been here before, maybe 1,000 times. Maybe this world isn't as solid as it seems. Maybe the past shifts when you're not looking. Maybe objects disappear and reappear for no reason. Maybe your memories are being rewritten as you live, edited in real time to keep you from noticing the cracks. Maybe you're not supposed to notice. There's an old idea that if you become too aware inside a dream, the dream collapses. Maybe that's why things start to feel strange when you think too hard about them. The universe corrects itself, smooths over the inconsistencies, distracts you with something new. A car alarm, a sudden phone call, a random wave of exhaustion. Anything to keep you from pulling too hard at the edges. If this is a dream, who's the dreamer? If you wake up, will you still be you? Or will you be something else, someone else, in a place you've long forgotten? And the scariest possibility of all, what if you already did wake up? What if you realized the truth once before and were so horrified that you chose to forget? chose to sink back into the illusion, to live this life again and again and again. And what if you're about to remember? The Boltzmann brain nightmare. What if you didn't exist a second ago? Not just in the philosophical sense. Literally. What if everything you remember, everything you believe about your life, was fabricated in an instant? This is the nightmare of the Boltzmann brain. The idea is simple. Given infinite time, random particles should, at some point, arrange themselves into a self-aware mind, a brain, a consciousness, and one that emerges fully formed, complete with memories, sensations, an entire past that never actually happened. And here's the disturbing part. You could be one of them. Right now, you believe you've lived years of life. You have childhood memories, a sense of identity, an understanding of the world. But what if all of that is just a product of chance? A pattern of atoms that came together, formed a mind, and tricked itself into thinking it has history. Statistically, the spontaneous formation of a single brain is far more likely than an entire structured universe. Creating a universe takes order, physics, time. A Boltzmann brain just needs chaos and luck. Given an infinite cosmos, it's inevitable that floating, self-aware minds pop into existence, hallucinate a lifetime, then vanish back into the void. That's the horror. If you were one, you wouldn't know. Your memories could be fake. The people you've loved, the places you've been, they may have never existed. They may be nothing more than stray data in a mind that appeared out of nothing, living in a fabricated past that never actually happened. If this is true, then the world around you, the air you breathe, the device you're reading this on, isn't real. It's just a convincing hallucination, a last gasp of awareness before non-existence. And there's no way to prove otherwise. Try. Look around. Does anything feel off? Have your memories ever shifted, blurred, felt unreliable? Have you ever questioned why the universe exists at all? Maybe it doesn't. Maybe this moment, right now, is all there ever was and all there ever will be. Maybe the moment you finish watching this video, you'll blink out of existence, because that's the fate of a Boltzmann brain. They appear for a moment, then they're gone. No one remembers them, because there was no one there in the first place. Maybe that's why the universe seems so empty. Maybe there was never a universe to begin with. No planets, no galaxies, no grand cosmic order. Just scattered, lonely minds, each experiencing their own self-contained illusion before disappearing forever. And if that's the case, then here's the final horror. You are completely alone. No one else is real. There's no vast, living universe. No Earth spinning in space. No history leading up to this moment. Just a mind, suspended in nothing, clinging to the illusion that it had a life before this. And if you truly are one of them, there's only one question left. How much time do you have left? Or did you just blink into existence again? The fear that we're already in hell. What if this is it? What if the suffering, the injustice, the misery of this world isn't just bad luck, but the point? What if you already died and this is your punishment? Forget the fire and brimstone. Hell doesn't need demons with pitchforks. It doesn't need lakes of fire or endless torment. A true hell would be one you don't even recognize. A world just painful enough to break you, but not enough to make you question why you're here. Look around. You see suffering everywhere. War, starvation, disease. People are born into pain, struggle through brief, meaningless lives, and die without ever knowing peace. You hear stories of cruelty beyond comprehension. Acts so monstrous they leave scars on history. And yet, through it all, there's no justice. The wicked prosper. The innocent suffer. No divine hand intervenes. No great balance sets things right. Maybe that's because there's nothing to set right. Maybe this is exactly how it was designed. Maybe you were sent here for a reason. Maybe you deserved this. Or maybe, worse, you didn't. Maybe you're just a casualty of some cosmic system. Trapped here because that's how it works. Have you ever wondered why things feel just wrong enough? Why there's just enough pleasure to keep you from giving up entirely, but never enough to bring lasting peace? Maybe that's the point. A perfect hell wouldn't be constant agony. It would be a world where hope is dangled just out of reach, where happiness is fleeting, where every victory is undone by another loss. It wouldn't need to be obvious. It wouldn't need flames or devils or eternal screams. It would be worse than that. It would be a world where pain feels normal, where suffering is expected, where people are born just to break. What if you've already died 1,000 times? What if each time you die here, you wake up in another version of this world? Another cycle of suffering, another layer of punishment. No memories of the last time. Just another round of the same existence, playing out again and again. Maybe that's why so many people fear death. Not because they'll cease to exist, but because they won't. Because they'll open their eyes and find themselves right back here, with no way to escape. And what if there's no way out? Maybe this world is the afterlife. Maybe the reason no one has ever proven what happens after death is because no one ever truly leaves. You close your eyes, you wake up again. Same pain, same struggle. Another day in the place you'll never escape. Maybe you've been here forever. Maybe you'll be here forever. And worst of all, what if you chose this? What if, before you got here, you knew exactly what this place was? What if you begged to forget? Begged for another chance, another life? Another illusion, because the truth of your existence was worse than this? If that's the case, then the real question isn't how to escape. It's whether you even want to remember. The paradox of identity. Are you still you? Who were you 10 years ago? Not in the vague, sentimental sense. Literally. Every atom in your body has been replaced since then. Every cell that made up the person you used to be is gone. Not a single piece of you remains from that time. So, who are you? The ship of Theseus asks this question using wood and nails. If you replace each plank of a ship over time, until none of the original remains, is it still the same ship? If not, at what point did it stop being the original? Now apply that to yourself. Your body regenerates. Your brain rewires. Your memories fade, distort, shift. The thoughts you had as a child aren't the thoughts you have now. The values you held 5 years ago might be unrecognizable to you today. So, what's left? Maybe you'd argue that identity isn't physical. It's the mind, the consciousness. But even that is unstable. Your personality changes with time. Your emotions shift with hormones. The same event can feel different when recalled at different stages of life. If your brain were damaged, if your memories were wiped, would you still be you? What about a perfect clone? If someone copied your mind down to every neuron, every memory, every habit, would that be you? What if they destroyed your original body right afterward? Would you still exist, or would you have just died, leaving behind an imposter that only thinks it's you? Maybe identity is just an illusion, a trick of memory and continuity. The person you were yesterday only exists as a recollection in the person you are today. The past version of you is dead, and the future version of you hasn't been born yet. All that exists is now. And what about sleep? Every night you fade into unconsciousness. You stop experiencing time. You stop thinking. When you wake up, your body resumes. But how do you know it's the same you? How do you know the one who woke up is the same person who fell asleep, rather than just another copy, picking up where the last one left off? What about teleportation? Imagine a machine that scans your body, destroys you, then rebuilds an identical version of you somewhere else. Would that still be you? What if the original wasn't destroyed, and now there are two of you? Which one is the real you? If someone slowly replaced your brain, one neuron at a time, at what point would you stop being you? If your memories could be transferred into another body, would that new person truly be you, or just a continuation? And what if identity itself isn't a fixed thing? What if it's fluid, shifting not just over years, but moment to moment? If you're not the same person you were yesterday, and you won't be the same person tomorrow, then what are you? A process, a story being written each day, a series of ever-changing masks stitched together by nothing but the illusion of self. And if that's true, then here's the final question. If the person you were is gone, and the person you will be isn't you yet, then who is watching this right now? The Fermi paradox. Where is everyone? The universe is vast. There are trillions of stars, trillions of planets. Billions of years have passed. The numbers suggest that life should exist everywhere. Intelligent civilizations should be common. But they are not. We look around and see nothing. No signals, no visitors, no ruins of ancient empires, only silence. This is the Fermi paradox. There are only two possible explanations. Either we are the first intelligent life to appear, or something is preventing anyone from surviving long enough to be noticed. Both possibilities are frightening. If we are the first, then we are alone. No one is coming. There is no ancient wisdom to guide us. No advanced species watching over us. The responsibility of intelligence, of meaning, is entirely on us. If we fail, if we destroy ourselves, then the universe remains empty. It becomes a vast and silent graveyard of wasted potential. But the other possibility is even worse. What if life is common? What if civilizations do arise, but something always destroys them? A force, a rule of the universe, a great filter. Maybe intelligent species always self-destruct. Maybe they create weapons too powerful, or technology too dangerous. Maybe they discover knowledge they were never meant to have. The moment a species reaches a certain level, it may erase itself. Or maybe something else erases it. What if we are being watched? What if something is out there that does not want competition? Maybe the reason space is silent is not because life is rare, but because the moment life becomes advanced enough to be noticed, it disappears. Maybe the silence is not natural. Maybe it is enforced. Think about it. The universe has existed for billions of years. If intelligent life were common, then by now, someone should have colonized the galaxy. It would only take a few million years to spread among the stars. So where are they? Maybe they tried. Maybe they built their empires and reached for the stars, only to be stopped. Stopped by what? An ancient force, a rule of nature, something that lurks in the dark, waiting for civilizations to reveal themselves. Maybe that is why we have heard nothing. Because the moment a civilization starts broadcasting its existence, it makes itself a target. Maybe that is why we see only ruins, dead planets and empty systems. And maybe that is why we should stay quiet. But what if it is already too late? For decades, we have been shouting into the void. We have sent signals, probes, and messages announcing our existence. If something is out there, it knows about us. It knows we are here. It knows we are growing, and it knows that we do not see it. Maybe the silence is not emptiness. Maybe it is patience. Maybe the great filter is not behind us. Maybe it is ahead. Maybe it is waiting, watching, letting us believe we are alone. And maybe, when it arrives, we will not even see it coming. The great filter. The universe is old, older than humanity, older than Earth, older than every story we have ever told. In all that time, it should have created countless civilizations, empires rising and falling, spreading across the stars. But we see nothing. The great filter is the reason why. It is the invisible wall that stops life from reaching the stars, a barrier, a final test. Somewhere along the path from lifeless matter to a spacefaring civilization, something erases almost everyone. Almost. The question is, where is it? If the filter is behind us, we are rare, the impossible survivors, the first to make it past all the traps, unforgiving planets, mass extinctions, cosmic disasters. If this is true, the silence of the cosmos is a good thing. It means we made it. But if the filter is ahead of us, we are doomed. That would mean civilizations do arise. They reach for the stars, and then something happens. Something that erases them so completely that no trace remains. Maybe it is self-destruction, nuclear war, rogue artificial intelligence, bioengineering gone wrong. Civilizations might always create their own executioners. Maybe intelligence is self-terminating, a fire that burns too bright and too fast, doomed to destroy itself. Or maybe the filter is not natural at all. Maybe something else enforces it. An ancient force, a cosmic predator. Something that waits for civilizations to grow, to advance, to become visible before wiping them out. Maybe the reason the universe is silent is not because there is nothing out there, but because something ensures it stays that way. What if we are being watched? We assume we are alone because we do not see anyone else. But what if the moment a species reaches a certain threshold, it is noticed. Maybe the great filter is not a test of intelligence, but of caution. Maybe survival is not about reaching the stars. It is about knowing when to stay hidden. But we have not stayed hidden. We have sent signals, messages, probes carrying our location, our biology, our weaknesses. We have announced to the universe that we are here, that we are growing, that we are looking outward. And if the filter is ahead of us, if the rule of the universe is that you do not expand, then we have already broken it. Maybe something is watching, waiting, deciding what to do with us. Maybe the reason we have not found intelligent life is because intelligent life does not get found. Or maybe the decision has already been made, and we just have not noticed yet. The problem of evil. If God is all-powerful, he could stop suffering. If God is all good, he would want to stop suffering. Yet suffering exists everywhere. War, disease, and starvation. Innocent souls crushed under the weight of meaningless cruelty. A child cries for help that will never come. A mother watches her baby die in agony. Entire civilizations have been wiped from existence. If God exists, why does he allow this? This is the problem of evil. A contradiction that has haunted humanity for thousands of years. A question that no religion has ever truly answered. There are only a few possible explanations. The first possibility is that God is not all-powerful. Maybe he wants to stop suffering, but he cannot. He is limited, bound by forces beyond his control. But if that is true, then he is not really God. A true God would have no limits. The second possibility is that God is not all good. Maybe he does not care. Maybe he even enjoys suffering. Maybe pain is not a flaw in his creation, but a feature. But if that is true, then he is not a God of love. He is a God of cruelty. The third possibility is that there is a plan. Suffering exists for a reason. We are simply too small to understand it. But what kind of plan demands the suffering of children? What kind of justice requires genocide? What kind of love allows endless, pointless pain? The world is filled with horrors. People are tortured, enslaved, and torn apart by war. Babies die before they can speak. Good people suffer while tyrants thrive. If there is a God, why does he watch and do nothing? Is he testing us? If so, why does he remain silent when his creations beg for answers? Or is he simply indifferent? Maybe suffering is part of some cosmic balance. Some claim evil must exist so that good can be appreciated. But does a child being burned alive need to exist just so someone else can feel grateful? Does agony have to be endured so joy can be meaningful? This argument collapses under its own weight. Perhaps the worst answer of all is that there is no answer. No hidden wisdom, no deeper meaning, just an indifferent universe, and a God who either does not exist, or worse, one who does. And if he does exist, then he is watching and doing nothing. The truth that you will like. Given enough time, a monkey randomly pressing keys on a typewriter will eventually type the complete works of Shakespeare. It sounds absurd, but mathematically, it is inevitable. Given infinite time, every possible sequence of events will happen. Not just Shakespeare, every book ever written, every conversation ever spoken, every thought ever conceived. and that includes you. What if you are just one of those possibilities? A random configuration of matter that happened to form a self-aware mind. Your memories, your experiences, your personality, all just an accident of probability. Nothing planned, nothing meaningful. Just the universe rolling the dice and, by chance, landing on you. Think about that. Everything you have ever felt, love, fear, hope, just atoms shifting in a particular way. Your relationships, your dreams, your struggles, patterns emerging for a brief moment before fading away, meaningless against the backdrop of infinity. And if it happened once, it can happen again. Somewhere, in some distant part of the universe, another version of you might exist. A copy, identical in every way, living the same life, thinking the same thoughts, believing itself to be unique. Maybe there are infinite copies, scattered across time and space, each believing it is the only one. Maybe you have lived this life before. Maybe you will live it again. Not because of destiny or fate, but because, in an infinite universe, anything that can happen will happen. Now take it further. What if reality itself is just an accident of probability? A simulation, not in the technological sense, but in the mathematical one. A sequence of events unfolding not because it was meant to, but because statistically it had to. The laws of physics, the constants of the universe, the delicate balance that allows life to exist. Just numbers that happen to fall into place. And what if, somewhere out there, the universe rolled the dice a little differently? What if there are places where the laws of reality do not quite work the way they do here? What if, in some version of existence, you were never born? Or worse, what if you were, but you were not you? If every possible version of you must exist, then there are versions of you that are unrecognizable. Somewhere you lived a different life. Somewhere you never existed. Somewhere you are something else entirely, and somewhere, right now in some far corner of possibility, one of those versions is staring back. Now ask yourself, are you the real one? Or are you just another roll of the dice? And if you are, how many times has this moment already happened? How many times have you realized this, only to forget? Maybe that is part of the cycle. Maybe you have reached this conclusion before, and each time, the universe resets you. Maybe every time you question your reality too deeply, something intervenes, pulls you back into the illusion, makes you forget. The truth that you will like. People like to believe in peaceful deaths, a quiet passing in sleep, a gentle fade into the unknown. But that is not reality, that is wishful thinking. Most deaths are violent, slow, or agonizing. Even in a hospital bed, surrounded by family, the body does not go quietly. Organs fail. Lungs fill with fluid. Skin turns cold while the brain remains trapped in a body shutting down piece by piece. The odds of slipping away without pain are slim. Your body fights to survive, even when survival is impossible. When the end comes, it does not grant you mercy. Aging itself is slow motion decay. Muscles weaken. Joints stiffen. The heart, forced to beat 1 billion times in a lifetime, begins to fail. The brain, once sharp, misfires and forgets itself. And then death comes in many forms, none of them gentle. A stroke suffocates the brain, leaving you locked inside a body that no longer moves, speaks, or obeys. A heart attack crushes your chest like a vice, drowning you in panic as your own body betrays you. Disease eats people alive from the inside. Cancer devours organs, leaving only pain and morphine in its wake. Even in sleep, death is rarely instant. The heart stutters. The brain struggles for oxygen. The body jerks. Even unconscious, there is a battle, and the body almost always loses in pain. If people assume sudden death is painless, it is not. A car crash, your bones shatter, nerves scream. Your brain floods with panic before shutting down. A gunshot, unless it destroys the brain instantly, there are long seconds of agony. A drowning, the body fights, lungs burn, instincts take over, forcing you to inhale water that fills every airway. Even execution methods designed to be humane often fail. Hanging, if the neck does not break immediately, it is slow strangulation. Lethal injection, when done wrong, burns from the inside as the body seizes. Nature offers no kindness either. Freezing to death, it starts with pain, burning skin, muscle failure, hallucinations. Only at the final stage does numbness set in. Starvation, weeks of weakness, dizziness, pain, and the slow breakdown of the body consuming itself. People do not talk about death like this. They pretend it will be peaceful. They push away the thought, convince themselves they will be the exception. But exceptions are rare. The truth is, your last moments will likely be filled with pain. The body, built to survive, does not surrender without a fight. And that fight, it is rarely painless. You were born into this world without consent. You will leave it without a choice. And the journey between those 2 points will likely end the same way it began, in pain. The unbearable loneliness of consciousness. No one will ever know what it is like to be you. You live inside your own mind, sealed away, unable to escape. You can talk to others, share your thoughts, describe your feelings, but no one else will ever truly experience them. No one will ever live inside your head. No one will ever feel what you feel, and you will never feel what they feel. Consciousness is a prison. You can see others, touch them, hear their words, but you will never be them. You will never think their thoughts. You will never know, with absolute certainty, what it is like to exist as someone else. You will only ever know your own mind, trapped in the singular experience of being you. And so will they. Every person you have ever known, your family, your friends, the strangers passing by on the street, they are all locked in their own private world, just like you. Each of them experiencing reality in their own way. Each of them alone in their own mind. You assume they think like you, feel like you, but how can you be sure? What if you are the only conscious mind? What if everyone else is just an imitation, empty shells playing out their roles, responding the way they are supposed to, but without any true awareness behind their eyes? Or worse, what if they are conscious, but their experience is so different from yours that you could never understand it? What if their emotions, their thoughts, their sense of self are completely alien? You could ask them, but how would they explain it? Language is a crude tool, a collection of symbols we use to approximate reality. You say, I feel pain, but what does that actually mean? Does your pain feel like their pain? Does their happiness feel like yours? You can never know. You can never leave your mind. You can never step into someone else's. And that means you will always be alone. No matter how close you get to someone, there will always be a gap between you, a barrier that cannot be crossed. You can love them, share a life with them, spend years by their side, but they will never be you. And one day they will be gone. One by one, everyone you know will disappear. Some will leave, some will die, and eventually you will be the last one left. And even if humanity lived forever, even if we conquered the stars and spread across the galaxy, even if our species never went extinct, this loneliness would never end. Because no matter how much we expand, no matter how much we learn, no matter how much we evolve, each of us will always be trapped inside ourselves. And when you die, your world, the only world you have ever known, dies with you. And no one will ever know what it was like to be you. Not now. Not ever. The Anthropic Principle. The universe appears perfectly tuned for life. The exact balance of physical laws, the precise strength of gravity, the delicate structure of atoms. Change them even slightly, and life as we know it becomes impossible. Why? Some call it a miracle, some call it proof of design. But there is another answer, a colder, emptier answer. We only ask the question because we exist to ask it. This is the Anthropic Principle. It does not say the universe was designed for life. It says life exists because the universe allows it. If the conditions had been different, if the laws of physics had been hostile to consciousness, no one would be here to notice. No one would be here to ask why. But this raises a disturbing possibility. If countless universes exist, if reality is an endless sea of possibilities, then there are universes where life never formed. Dead, sterile voids. Worlds that came close to sustaining life, but failed. Civilizations that rose, flourished, and collapsed before ever looking up at the stars. And what if we are in one of those doomed worlds? What if we think we are special, think we are rare, think we are meant to be here, when in reality, we are just another accidental blip, another temporary anomaly in an ocean of nothing? What if the universe is not fine-tuned for us? What if we are just the lucky ones who happen to appear before everything falls apart? Maybe the conditions that allowed life to arise here were not meant to last. Maybe they were a cosmic accident, a rare alignment of forces that will inevitably unravel. Maybe the universe is not a stable system, but a temporary bubble, one that will eventually collapse. What if our universe is part of a cycle? Universes expand, grow, and then decay. Perhaps some flicker out in an instant. Others stretch for trillions of years before reaching their inevitable end. Ours might be somewhere in between. And what if this is not the first time? What if countless universes came before ours, each one containing civilizations that asked the same questions, only to vanish before ever finding an answer? What if we are already past our peak? Maybe life flourished once, long ago, but the universe has already begun to wind down. The stars will burn out, the galaxies will drift apart, and all light will eventually fade into the void. And what if one day another universe will emerge, with another species looking out at the stars, wondering the same thing. But here, in this moment, we exist. We look up at the sky and assume it was made for us. But perhaps we are just a coincidence, a brief spark in an uncaring cosmos destined to vanish without a trace. And what if none of this was ever meant to last? What if life is not a sign of cosmic significance, but of inevitable impermanence? What if we were never supposed to exist at all? The nothingness before birth. Where were you before you were born? For all of human history, people have obsessed over what happens after death. Heaven, hell, reincarnation, nothingness. But almost no one asks the opposite question: where were you before? Think back as far as you can. Childhood memories blur into darkness. You were a baby once, but do you remember it? And before that, you were a fetus. Before that, just cells. Before that, nothing. And yet, here you are. For billions of years, you did not exist. The universe spun on without you. Trillions of events unfolded, stars exploded, species evolved, civilizations rose and fell. And then, suddenly, without warning, you appeared. Why? Why this moment in history? Why this body? This consciousness? You could have been anyone, but you aren't. You are you. But before this, you were nothing. No thoughts. No dreams. No awareness. Just silence. And that silence is coming again. Think about it. You didn't exist before, and one day you won't exist again. No awareness, no memory, no sense of time. Just an endless void stretching forever. If the nothingness before birth and the nothingness after death are the same, then what does that say about your life? What if this moment, this brief flicker of awareness, is the only thing you will ever have? And what if, in the grand scheme of the universe, it doesn't matter at all? Maybe consciousness is just an accident, a random spark in an indifferent cosmos. And when it goes out, it will be as if it never was. No one will remember you. No one will remember that you were here. Eventually, there will be no one left to remember anything at all. Before you existed, the universe didn't notice your absence. When you are gone, it won't notice that you were ever here. But here's the question that lingers. Why did you wake up at all? If existence and non-existence are equal possibilities, why are you here now? Why this body, this mind, this sliver of time? If there was nothing before, why did something begin? And if it happened once, could it happen again? Could your awareness, your sense of self, emerge again? Somewhere, someone without memory, without identity, but still you? Or is this it, a single moment of being, swallowed by an eternity of absence? And if so, what will you do with it? Because if this is the only awareness you will ever have, then every second is slipping through your fingers, vanishing into the same nothingness from which you came. And once it's gone, it will be as though it never existed at all, unless, of course, it happens again, unless, without warning, you wake up once more, somewhere else, sometime else, without memory of this life, without knowledge of what came before. What if this has already happened? What if you have lived and died before, countless times, only to return to existence over and over again, trapped in an endless cycle of forgetting and beginning? And if that is true, then how many times have you already asked this question? The fragility of sanity. How do you know you are sane? Not think, not assume. No. Sanity is a delicate thing, a thin thread stretched across a chasm. You do not notice it until it frays. You do not question it until it snaps. Right now, you believe you are rational, that your thoughts are your own, that your mind is intact. But what if it is not? What if the way you see the world is already warped? You would not know. That is the terrifying part. People lose their minds every day. It does not happen all at once. It is a slow unraveling, a misplaced memory here, a flicker of paranoia there, a creeping sense that something is not quite right. It could happen to you. It is happening to you. Your brain is not perfect. It lies to you constantly. Your memory is flawed. Your perception is limited. You do not see the world as it is. You see the world as your mind interprets it. And sometimes your mind is wrong. How many times have you misremembered something? How many times have you been absolutely certain of something, only to find out later you were mistaken? What if the mistakes are piling up? What if, slowly, reality is shifting out of your grasp and you do not even notice? What if, right now, you are already insane and no one has told you? What if they have told you, but you do not believe them? There is a condition called anosognosia. It is a disorder where people do not realize they are mentally ill. A person with schizophrenia, dementia, or brain trauma may be completely convinced they are fine, even when their mind is disintegrating. What if that is you? What if your thoughts, your beliefs, your very perception of reality is already broken? What if your memories are false? You assume the world is consistent, that the people around you are real, that your past is solid, unchanging. But memory is fragile. Studies have shown that every time you recall something, your brain rewrites it. You are not remembering an event. You are remembering the last time you remembered it. How much of your past is real? And if your past is unreliable, then what does that say about your present? What if your mind is already slipping, but your brain refuses to let you see it? And if it was, how would you ever know? Would you even want to? Because if your sanity is already gone, if your mind is already fractured, then your entire reality is built on a lie. And if you found out the truth, what would be left of you? What if the person you think you are, the one who is watching this right now, is not real? What if you are just a construct? A personality your brain created to keep you from seeing what you have truly become? What if the real you is locked away, buried beneath layers of illusions, too broken to face reality? And what if one day the illusion cracks and you wake up to something you were never meant to see? The fact that you were born without consent. You never agreed to this. You did not ask to be born. You were forced into existence, thrown into a world filled with suffering, uncertainty, and inevitable death. One day, you did not exist. The next, you were screaming, gasping for air, helpless, fragile, and alone. From that moment on, you were expected to survive, to adapt, to endure. But did you ever get a choice? Did anyone ask if you wanted to be here? You were handed a body, A mind, a set of circumstances beyond your control. Your parents, your genetics, your place in history, all assigned at random. No input, no escape. And now you must play the game of survival, the game of work, responsibility, expectations. You are required to endure pain, to fight for meaning, to struggle against forces larger than yourself. You will age. You will weaken. You will watch others disappear one by one until it is your turn. You did not agree to this, and yet here you are. So what now? You have two choices. You can accept it. Pretend that existence is a gift. Convince yourself that life is a miracle, that suffering has meaning, that death is just another part of the cycle. You can play the role assigned to you, smile through the pain, and pretend that everything happens for a reason. Or you can reject it. See the world for what it is, a system designed without your consent, indifferent to your desires, immune to your complaints. You can resent it, hate it, curse those who created you, but it will not change anything. You never had a choice, and you never will. But there is something else. If you were forced into existence, if you were given life without permission, then that means no rules apply to you. If you owe nothing to the system that created you, then you are free to break it. If life was given to you against your will, then it belongs to you and no one else. You do not owe the world anything, not your suffering, not your obedience, not your conformity. But if no one prepared you for this life, if no one asked you to be here, then whose responsibility is it now? Yours. It is a terrifying realization. No one is coming to save you. No divine purpose, no hidden meaning, no unseen force ensuring that everything turns out the way it should. The burden of existence is yours alone to bear. So what will you do with that knowledge? You can submit to the rules others have made for you, or you can make your own, because if you were born without consent, then no one, not society, not your parents, not the universe itself, has the right to tell you what your existence should mean. And maybe, just maybe, that is the only choice you will ever truly have. The inescapable biological programming of love and emotions. You think you are in control. You believe your thoughts, your feelings, your desires are yours. That love, passion, loyalty, all of it is a reflection of your unique self. But what if none of it belongs to you? What if everything you feel is nothing more than programming? You were born with a brain built for survival. Every instinct, every emotion, every attachment, it all exists for one reason: to keep your species alive. Love is not pure. Desire is not real. They are mechanisms, biochemical commands designed to push you in the direction evolution requires. When you fall in love, when you ache for someone, when you feel joy or heartbreak, it is all just chemicals. Dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin. A rush of neurotransmitters telling you what to want, who to bond with, when to suffer. Your body rewards you when you obey and punishes you when you do not. Think about it. You did not choose to feel loneliness. You did not decide to crave connection. These are not higher truths. They are functions of a machine. The same process that makes a dog loyal to its owner, that makes a mother bird protect her eggs, that makes a wolf howl when it is separated from its pack. You are no different. And that means your deepest feelings, the ones that define you, that shape your life, are not yours. They never were. You did not choose to love your family. You were wired to. You did not decide to feel loss when someone dies. That is your biology keeping you tethered to the group. Even the sensation of heartbreak, the crushing weight of rejection, it all serves a function. Pain ensures obedience. Pain forces you to try again, to seek acceptance, to continue the cycle. It is not just love. Every emotion, every impulse, every so-called meaningful experience is nothing more than evolutionary conditioning. And here is the worst part. Even knowing this, you cannot escape it. You can understand that love is just chemistry, but it will not stop you from feeling it. You can recognize that heartbreak is just a trick of the brain, but it will not stop the pain. You are a machine following a script written by nature, and there is no way to opt out unless you break the code. What if you rejected your programming? What if you severed the ties, ignored the instincts, refused to play the role biology demands? What if you could override the system? Would you still be human? Would you still be you? Or would you be something else, something freer, or something empty? If you strip away all the conditioning, all the programming, what is left? Would you feel anything at all? Or would you become a hollow machine, operating with no purpose, no connection, no reason? Because maybe that is the real trap. Not the emotions, not the programming, but the fact that even if you recognize it, even if you resist it, you will never know who you truly are beneath it. The possibility that time is an illusion. Time feels real. You wake up, go about your day, watch the clock tick forward. The past is behind you. The future is ahead. That is the illusion. What if time does not move? What if it does not even exist? Right now, you think of yourself as existing in the present. But what is now? The moment you try to grasp it, it is already gone. The future arrives, becomes the present, then vanishes into the past, all in an instant. You never actually experience time as a flow. You only remember that things have changed. But what if change is an illusion too? Physics does not require time to exist the way we perceive it. The equations that govern the universe work just as well forward as they do backward. There is nothing mathematically that demands time must flow. Some physicists believe the past, present, and future all exist simultaneously, like a book already written, where each page exists at once, regardless of which one you are reading. If this is true, then your entire life has already happened. Your birth, your death, every decision you think you are making in real time, it all exists, unchanging, permanent. You are not moving through time. You are simply experiencing a fixed reality, one frame at a time. But then the question arises, if time is an illusion, then what are you? Are you truly making choices? Or are you just playing out a sequence that has already been determined? What if your consciousness itself is just an observer, watching a pre-recorded reality unfold? What if free will is just a byproduct of limited perception? Consider a character in a film. As the movie plays, They experience life moment by moment, making choices, reacting, believing in their own agency. But the film is already complete. Their fate is sealed. They only think they are deciding. What if you are no different? What if the events of your life, every triumph, every failure, every thought, are already written, already set? What if time only feels real because you are trapped inside the story, unable to step back and see the full picture? And if time is not real, then neither is the future, neither is the past, neither is the present. So what is left? Just awareness, just you, staring into the void, waiting for the next frame to appear. But here is the real question. If time does not flow, if everything has already happened, then what happens when you die? Do you move on? Or do you stay trapped, forever cycling through the same moments, repeating the same life, over and over again? Have you done this before? Will you do it again? And if you are already stuck in a loop, if you have lived this life an infinite number of times before, how would you ever know?